Hello, and thank you for joining me tonight. Tonight, I'm interviewing a dear sister in Christ. Her name is Julieann, and she is from Australia. This will be a two-part series. The second part will be released next Saturday. Julieann will be sharing a miracle that she has experienced, and she will also be sharing her visit to heaven. Before I start, can you please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already? That way we can share more of these stories with more people. And if you have a supernatural experience of your own of any kind, please write me at battlebornbelievers@gmail.com or go to battlebornbelievers.com. Thank you for joining us, Julieann. Would you like to share your story?
Thank you, Christy. I really would. I went to heaven, 2006. I went and lay down to have a nana nap at about, probably 4:30 in the afternoon. It was very hot, it was summer, and kind of siesta time. And next thing I knew, I was standing in a field. There was nothing around, there was just grass. But I could feel everything. The air was alive. I could feel other beings around me, but I couldn't see anything apart from grass. And it was, we don't have the words to describe it, but I was taking it all in. I was communing with everything. The air wasn't static, but it was alive. And as I was listening to the noises, the sounds, not noises, sounds, I realized that the air itself was singing praises to Yahweh for me. It was thanking him. The grass was singing. The earth was singing and thanking him for bringing me to them. And I thought, wow. And I took a step forward and the grass parted to let my foot in. And when I stepped, it closed back over my foot and it caressed me and it was loving me. The love, it was something I've never experienced before. And I was in the wow, where am I? This is awesome mode. And I heard telepathically a voice, I can't say male, well, I'd say it's male because it definitely wasn't female, but a non-binary voice. Just say to me, what would you like to see? And I honestly didn't know what I wanted to see. So I said flowers. And I looked and there were flowers, all different kinds, and the colours were so vibrant. We don't have colours to match. We don't have anything that will match what they were. And every flower was alive. And when I touched them, they laughed. It was like I was tickling them. And I didn't want to pick any one of them because I knew it was an entity. I knew it was a life. But they wanted me to pick them. They wanted me to. And when I did pick one, another one just sprung up in its place. And when I put it up to my face to smell it, it caressed me. The petals caressed me. And I just thought, wow, I never want to leave this place. It's beautiful. Wow. And the voice again said, what would you like to see? And it was as soon as I thought of something, It was there. And there was a tree to my right. And I could hear the wind, the air playing with the leaves, and the sound that was like the tinkling of bells, little tiny bells. And the tree was saying, come, come, and singing praises again to Yahweh, saying how beautiful I was. And I really liked that because I didn't get many people telling me that I was beautiful. And I went to the tree, and the leaves, well, they just parted so I could walk into it. And then they parted, the branches, the leaves, everything was caressing me. They loved playing in my hair. And as I got closer to the trunk of the tree, I don't know what variety of tree it was either. It was just a tree. But as I got to the trunk, I could see the I can't think of the word for it. The lifeblood of the tree, the sap. That's what's called, the sap. I could see it pulsing under the bark. And so I had to touch it. And I went up to it and I put both my hands on the trunk. And I saw the beginning and I saw the end of creation.
Amazing.
Of the earth. I saw and I heard Yeshua speak the world into being.
Incredible.
And I was blown away and still am. And I didn't see wars. I didn't see things like that. But over the years, I didn't see the crucifixion. But I saw what was happening in the demonic at the crucifixion. And I heard them, the demons, screaming because they knew they were defeated. And I heard the angels shouting and all of creation shouting because they knew they'd won. It was done. It was done. And then I saw the end, which I'm not going to talk about, but we're very, very close. We're very, very close.
We are.
And I can hardly wait.
Me too. I get excited. Other people are like, the end, I'm so scared. Nope, I'm super excited every time I hear that, because that means he's coming for us, and I'm just looking forward to the feast, the wedding.
Yeah, well, I say to people, if you get up there before me, save me a seat at the table.
Oh, you're sitting next to me, Julieann, so you don't have a choice.
I actually think that every seat will be next to Yeshua. So I don't know how it works, but hey, I don't run that bit.
He's big enough to do that because his like with my experience, he penetrates every cell of your being. He just encompasses you. So and in love, and it's not just like it's not, it's so hard to like you said, gentle. It's so hard to explain, but yes, and on a personal level, there's billions of people and he can still make you feel like you're his favorite child, little baby, and you're the only one. So I agree with you, Julieann, 100% on that one.
I say to other people, even if you were the only person left on the planet, he would have still died on that cross just so we could be with him.
I see that a bunch too.
So true. But anyway, after I left the tree, which just about blew my mind, I saw it wasn't a river. It probably maybe would have been 8 foot across. It was a creek. I would call it a creek.
Okay.
And the water was the sound. It was bubbling like, yeah. And it was singing, and it was everything. Like I said, was thanking Yahweh. And I looked at the water, and I knew that was where I wanted to be, in the water of life. And the water parted. It parted, and down the bank, I could see steps, like mud steps. And I walked down into the water. The water only came up to my waist, and I'm not a very tall person. And it never wet me. But it was the most refreshing, cooling substance I'd ever been in. And it loved me as well. And I put my hands into it, and I could pick it up. I could hold the water like that. And I could see it swirling. I could see that it was alive. And I splashed it onto my face. And my whole being, my very inner soul, was refreshed. And the water was just loving me. And I didn't want to get out. I didn't want, because everything, as we said, to a cellular level, everything was refreshed. And it was just so beautiful. And I honestly believe if I had laid back in it, I would have been able to breathe. If I'd gone under the water, it would have allowed me to breathe. Even though I don't know if I did breathe where I was, but I assume I did. And after I was in the water for a while, being loved, love just doesn't even cover it.
Yeah.
Being welcomed, being adored, it was just beautiful. And the water then lifted me and placed me back on the bank. And I was very angry at the water, and I'm going, oi, I'm coming back in. You let me back in. And then the being that was next to me, I can't say whether it was an angel or not. I couldn't see it. I could sense it. And it said to me, what do you want to see? And so I just looked at where I assumed the being was, and I said, I want to see my God. Take me to my God. And in a wave, in a moment, I was on the side of a very tall mountain. And it was just like a little rocky outcrop. And normally I would have been holding, hugging the mountain because I don't like heights. But I felt so safe. And I walked to the edge of the outcrop, maybe would have been 3 foot wide. I walked to the edge and I looked down. The mountains were very barren. There were other mountains around me. And I just looked down. And in the valley at the bottom, I saw a structure. I saw angels putting these huge bricks on top of each other, building walls. But the bricks were alive. They were gold and they were alive, and they were all beating to the same heartbeat.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interject. I just want to ask about the gold. Was it like gold here, or was it more pure looking or shiny or see-through, or was it like, did you see the streets of gold by chance?
I didn't see into the actual, it was the New Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. I didn't see inside it. I saw outside it.
Just the outside, okay.
Just the outside. And the bricks they were like, shall we say, the pyramids, the bricks out of the pyramid, the huge stones.
Those huge ones.
I could see through them, but there was gold, and it was like the sun. That's how bright.
Right.
And I
That's
could
what I
see
wanted
it,
to know. Yeah. Okay.
like it was like water filled, and swirling, but it was beating. It was pulsing. It was alive.
Makes sense.
And as I looked down at the structure, I noticed that there were 4 walls, it was square, and there were 3 huge gates on each side. And I really wanted to go through the purple one because I love purple. And purple just doesn't even cover what it looked like. But I knew that I had to go through the blue one. And I was a bit sad at that, even though it was the most beautiful blue I've ever seen. But I really wanted to go through the purple one. But, oh well, as long as I can get in there, that's all that matters in the end. And right in the centre of this structure was a sun.
Oh,
And
my.
it was just the light. And I knew that right in there was my God. And that's where I wanted to be. And I was going to swan dive. I was ready just to go off the side, right into the centre there. And that's when I said the most stupid thing I've ever said in my entire life. Or death. I said to the being that was next to me, get me 20 pairs of Ray-Bans, the sunglasses, so I can look at this thing because I'll be burning my retinas out and I can't look away. Kill me now and let me go in there. I knew that I had to die to be able to get in there. And I didn't care. So I said, kill me now or send me back. Bang. That's when I woke up in the morgue.
Wow, because it wasn't your time yet.
Oh, I was cranky. Mind you, the whole time I was up there, I never thought about another person. I never thought that not seeing anyone was weird. I never thought that feeling different entities was weird. Everything, there was nothing malevolent at all. Everything was just love.
Loving, yeah.
Everything. And when I woke up, I realised I actually thought, because I hadn't opened my eyes, I thought, what kind of a party did we have last night? And who flipped me a roofie? And why am I naked in the backyard? And it must have rained because it was so cold. I knew I was naked. And I thought I was on the ground. And then I wondered, why aren't my dogs licking me? And where am I? That's when I opened my eyes. And it was a very dim room. And I looked to my right and I saw a man's body, and he was grey and had liver mortis, which is where the blood pools when you're dead. He did not look very well at all. And I thought, okay, where am I? And as my eyes were getting, because I tried to scream, but I realised I had something down my throat. And like where am I? And I was looking around, starting to work out, and I looked to my left and I could see 3 people on trolleys, and they did not look too well either. There was 2 on that side of me. And so I was feeling with my hands. First of all, I checked to make sure I was all there, and I noticed that I had a huge hole about the size of my finger in my breast. And I thought, what? What? And I was still trying to work out what was going on with this tube. And I looked to my left, and above a door were the words in neon little lights, autopsy suite.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, I am not going in there. And there were actual parts of it was just little bits of neon, and there were like 3 parts to the A, and one part of it was blown and part of the T was blown as well. And I just thought, I'm not going in there. There were no lights on. So I actually got off the bed or the trolley, steel tray that I was on, and the other people looked pretty dead. And I thought, where do I go? How do I get out? So I went to the one place that was in the opposite direction of the autopsy suite. And I'd grabbed a couple of, I don't know what you call them, like modesty gown, Scott towels, they looked like to me, paper towels. And I was trying to hold them over my nakedness. And of course I couldn't make a noise. I tried screaming, it wasn't working. So I opened a door. Well, the door was open actually. It just had clear strips down it. And so I went through them, and the lady was typing on a keyboard with her back to me. Never occurred to me to clap my hands. I could have done that, but didn't even think about it. So I went up and tapped this poor woman on the shoulder.
Gave her a heart attack?
She turned around and looked at me, and I know it's a natural function, bodily function of people who are in extreme terror to defecate them, just release everything. It's part of the fight or flight mechanism. And she went gastric, and she just crumpled straight down.
Wow.
Like she had no bones. She just straight down. And I didn't need her I wanted her to make a noise. So I kicked her, and she just spun around in her own poop. But the look on her face, I still pray for that woman now. A poor darling. She must have had to have years of therapy after that. I hope the Lord blessed her and her family so much. So she was no use to me. I had to leave her there. And I went out another door. And then there were heaps of people with white coats. I don't know whether maybe it was their tea room or something. It'd be odd, but it was because we have morgues. Our morgues are in the basement of our hospitals, and we don't go to funeral homes. Well, not the way that it happens in the US.
Gotcha.
Anyway, and we don't embalm people unless you really want it, and it's very expensive to have done.
Interesting.
So anyway, these, I call them the white coats, the flock of geese that I walked into, they just looked at me, and one of them said, "Who are you?" And I still had a name tag on my arm, and I just held it up. And next thing I know, I'm picked up, I'm on a bed, they're taking blood, they're putting things on my head, attaching me to machines. And everyone was asking me questions. And so I started to fight back because I don't like people touching me without my permission. And I was naked, and they're trying to take blood and do other things. So I just started punching. And a nicer, older chap came near to my head, and he said to me, "It's okay, just calm down, just calm down." And I just kept pointing to my mouth because I couldn't talk. And he said, "Just calm down." And then I made a writing thing. So he gave me a notepad and a pen. And it always amazes me when people, they started yelling at me, and I'm not deaf. But I wrote on the piece of paper, "What the blank is going on?" So he wrote back, You were dead.
You wrote it? You didn't say
He
it?
wrote it.
That's interesting.
And I said, what? In capitals, big letters. And I kept pointing to my mouth, and he was saying, we can't take that out because in case your brain cuts off, we need to, we need to put you back onto oxygen. And I didn't know anything about this. My earlier memory was I went down to have a sleep at 4:30. And hubby had said, you go and have a sleep, I'll wake you up for dinner. And anyway, this chap was yelling at me while I was writing questions. The people had stopped poking and prodding me because I was kicking. I did actually end up getting a sheet, so I felt a little less exposed. And anyway, I said, get this thing out of my mouth. And he said, no, we've got to keep it in there. And I just thought, no. So I started pulling it. And it's amazing how far these things go. It felt like it was coming from my toes. It was just like an extendable thing. And it just kept coming. I threw it on the floor, but I couldn't talk. My throat was so sore. I just wanted a drink. They gave me ice chips. And they were taking x-rays and doing, like I said, my head was all wired up to a machine. And then I actually had a look at the hole in my breast. I kind of lifted my head forward and had a look. And I said to this nice old chap, what was that? He said, oh, that was where they shoved the adrenaline in. And I said, what for? Well, you were dead. And I also noticed I had burn, just mild burn, not big ones, burn marks. There was about 4 of them on my body where they tried to shock me back. And I just said, I'm leaving now, and went to stand up, and I pulled things off and tore the cannula they'd put in my arm out. Blood was spurting everywhere, and I was trying to hold it. And a lot of people were shocked, and I just wanted out. I wanted out. And so I just wrapped the sheet around me and walked out the other door that did not go back to the morgue. I wasn't going back that way. And eventually someone came and found me, and a nurse. I got lost in the hospital, and they took me to a ward, and I did actually ask, how long was I dead? How was I dead? How did you miss this? And anyway, I couldn't sleep. Nurses, there was bunches of them. I was in a 4-bed ward, and bunches of them were standing in the doorway whispering, and I knew they were talking about me. And I wanted to yell out, come closer and tell me what you're saying. I'm happy to answer questions because I've got a lot of my own. And the lady, my throat was so sore. I had a lot of trouble even just taking a sip of water. And the lady opposite me had these beautiful nectarines that came off her own tree. She was, I don't know, I think she might have been Italian or something. And she just said, oh, they're homegrown. And in broken English, she said to me, you look like you need one. And I tasted it, and it was so beautiful. And then I thought, right, I'm going out for a cigarette. I was smoking at that stage. And so I went out into a room or into an open courtyard to have a cigarette. And it was morning. And I kind of had about, I thought I'm just going to chain smoke the entire packet because I didn't have it in my head what had happened. I couldn't I couldn't reconcile what had happened. I was in a state of shock, I think.
I can
And
imagine.
next thing, I heard the door open behind me into this, it was a private courtyard. And then I just heard my husband's voice, and it was so beautiful. And he said, naughty words again, he doesn't swear. He only swears at me. And he said, how? And I turned around to him and he wrapped his arms around me and he squished me to death. And I said, how what? He said, I came in to find you. He said, I came in, the kids are being babysat by the next door neighbours. Your older kids from 2 states away will be up at 10 o'clock this morning. They're on the early flight. And I said, why? Why are they coming up? And how much is that going to cost me? And anyway, he said, I just went down to the morgue. I went down to see you before the kids got up, before the family got up. And they didn't know where you were. I thought they'd lost you. He said, and then I've just been going around this hospital trying to find you. And I got pointed up here. I came to where your room was because I had nothing. I had no clothes. I had no toiletries. I had nothing. I had to borrow cigarettes and a lighter. And I said, and he said, and they told me you're out here having a smoke. And that was the only thing that made sense to me. Because I knew that'd be right. She'd be out there having a smoke. He said, but you were dead. And he said to me, I went in to wake you up for dinner and you weren't breathing. You weren't moving. You were dead. And I said, well, I'm not now. And
Amazing.
Anyway, I went home the next day.
We've got about 4 minutes left, just to give you a heads up. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, well, that was it. And then I researched. I had to research what I'd seen. I had to look at it in the Word. I had to make sure what I'd seen was real. And it was.
Oh boy, yeah. Yeah.
And the 12 gates, 3 on each side, are the tribes of Judah.
Absolutely.
And it took a long time before I told anyone what I'd seen.
Me too.
And now I'm happy to share it. Yeah.
I get it. Thank you for sharing your story. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure everybody watching is appreciating this too.
Oh, I think Yahweh does miracles for me and for you, because we're not scared to shut up. We won't shut up about it. That's the thing.
Yeah. He knows he's going to talk.
Yep. I won't shut up about it.
Yeah.
But to anyone who has ever been to somewhere like that and wonders their own sanity, it's real. It's really real. And praise him who sent us.
Absolutely.
It's not what we want, it's what he wants.
Absolutely.
Always remember that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Christy, for allowing me to share my story.
And thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Again, I will be releasing part 2 of this interview next Saturday. And thank you for joining us tonight. And don't forget to like and subscribe. God bless you.